welcome. This is Simulation Talk 82 so far. Amber is here. What's up, Amber? Blue collar. What's up, Death Star Delts? How you doing? Good trailer going well on my X feed. Hey, Stone Ape. Awesome. What's your X feed? I'm gonna save it. Is it also called just Stone Ape? Are you the one that posted it on X? Thank you for posting. James Lucid says, I still can't believe it. Yeah, that was me for a long time. Type Defastic 369. Hey there, in case of this being a ball bait, let me know if you feed ball. Okay, you got attention. No, it's not. It is actually the real deal. And this is one of the reasons why I'm meeting up here every day with people, kind of discussing the details, because I think there's a lot to converse around. Welcome to everybody on TikTok and YouTube and X and Twitch. Let me follow you, Stone Ape. Tefastic 369. Let's see. Tefastic. Yeah, because my my X, as you can probably see, is it's not really finding it. It's barely active. I wasn't really using it that much. Nico, how are you, brother? Good to see you. So, but also people not really tagging me in posts like that because it's Goller Danny and it's not Danny Goller, so it doesn't grow either way. Tefastic? I don't know why I can't find it. Do you want to shoot me a text there and then I can just follow you from there? Aaron, how are you, brother? Nice. Yeah, so just so you guys know, the trailer was actually made by Aaron Venden, who's here with us right now on YouTube. Aaron is an incredible documentarian and editor, and he whipped this thing up in about a week. He contacted me years ago. He saw some of my interactions on YouTube, and he told me that he's a filmmaker and he wants to do something with it. But I was kind of traveling the world, so I didn't really, it was interesting, but what could I do? I wasn't there. So when I came back home, we reconnected and he came by and we started working on it. And literally within a week, he whipped this thing out. So rest assured that whatever the real film is, whatever the full product is going to be that much more mind-blowing. And we are doing a lot of work trying to figure out an angle to present the information in a way that is not just simply going to be about the experiment, but about some deeper implications, and going to be talking to some pretty interesting people in the film and presenting some ideas that we believe need to be presented. So we are excited to share this with the world. So thank you for all the engagement. I've been doing these live chats every day for this is number 82, so this is 82 straight days. Actually, I'm lying. I stopped for 10 days for a meditation retreat, but but it's close enough. Scat Williams saying, hello, brother. Just saw your dog trailer on X yesterday and watched your laser videos and subscribed. Thank you so much, Scat. I appreciate everybody's support and interest. And like I say in my original videos, I do think this is a project that we're all going to be engaged with together. James Lewis, my blinds are connected to Wi-Fi. They are scheduled to open at 7:30 a.m. and let the sun. It's great. Love smart blinds. Nice. Patient. I've been patient. The comprehensiveness that you are forced to work through isn't strenuous. I think I understand, Madgura, what you're saying. That happens when I was in Nitros the other day. Oh, I see. Okay, let's see what we got. Cal, how are you, brother? Many angles you could... Yeah, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. I'm so happy you showed up. Actually texted Cal that if you can come to the chat, because I missed you, man. I haven't seen you in a while. And then my chats were way too late for you. Cal is a family man, and my chats are way too late. Nico, you're the man, brother. Thank you for being here. Ian B, how are you? Welcome, everybody. Okay, so to all the people that are not familiar, I would assume that most people on YouTube are here because they saw the trailer and understand what's going on. To all the people that are just joining on TikTok, this is... Oh, thank you so much, James Lucid. I appreciate you. Always trying to... Yeah, man. Much love. You talk a lot about computation. Are you talking about mathematics? Not quite. You can have mathematical things that are not computable. In fact, Gödel's incompleteness theorem is exactly that. He basically proved that there are certain proofs that we know to be true, or certain facts that we know to be true, mathematical truths, that we can never prove. In other words, we can never compute. Computation means you have to run the actual process all the way through, and it has to have an output of some sort. If it computes forever, well, it's an infinite computation, which is impossible because, as far as we know, even if theoretically we think there's infinite time and infinite space, functionally it doesn't mean anything. So that would be the main difference, but there's a few other distinctions. A really good person to listen to on this subject is actually Joshua Bach. I think it's spelled Josha. Bach, I think Bach. One of my favorite thinkers. I definitely don't agree with him on everything, but he's an incredible thinker, like very mainstream, super smart guy. So if you just do Joshua Bach computation, you would get your time is worth. Like it's worth listening to and understanding what is actually meant by that. Now, to all the newcomers, this channel usually revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. So taking it out of the hypothesis world, more into the actual experimental world, which nobody has ever thought, I think, that will ever happen in our lifetime. I certainly didn't. Somebody has just commented on YouTube before that if this is some kind of a elaborate, joke or whatever. So it is not. The documentary is going to be dealing to some degree with... Thank you so much, Stone Ape. Appreciate you, James. Really, thank you, guys. And documentaries, to some degree, is going to be outlining exactly how I arrived at my conclusions. You can't say that you can fold it into regular methodologies. Oh, by the way, one final thing before we dive into the subject matter. So to all the newcomers, usually we talk about the simulation hypothesis, but we meet here every day to discuss that, the experiment, the implications. But we also discuss science in general, religion, spirituality, God, whatever comes to mind and we think is important, we discuss it. One of the biggest, I guess, thrusts behind my work on this subject now is to try and make front and center what I believe is very important for us as humanity to understand, because we are in a very pivotal moment in history. I don't think it's a coincidence that this was discovered now, or this is available to be discovered now. There are a lot of other things that are happening, and I think they're all part of the same process. And it's very important that we all align ourselves with the process. We humble ourselves, and I know it sounds loaded and maybe a little bit... when people use that in certain contexts, like religious or spiritual context, it sounds a little bit condescending. I feel that myself sometimes. But it is true that it's surprising. I would never expect it, but there's some major things happening that are actually real, and that's kind of crazy. But so the documentary is going to be touching on the subject of how I arrived at my conclusion. And even though I do think it's important and interesting to find out the methodology by which I kind of arrived at it, because it was not a straightforward kind of thinking, but it involved some understanding about the world as well, of course, which is why I always say that the path forward should be for humanity as a whole, of combining what you would call the heart and the mind. We have to combine both hemispheres and allow them work together versus see it as a zero-sum game of competition. If you guys on TikTok want to see longer videos on the subject that you see here on TikTok, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's Dango Thoughts, Dango Thoughts, and there the videos are a little longer, talking more in depth. And I will be putting out a lot more content now that more people are paying attention. So yeah, that's all the stuff I'm going to say around. Now we can dive into some conversations. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I appreciate you. So on this topic of, how do we, oh, so one more thing about the movie. To my ADHD today is a little bit out of control, so I'll be jumping around. So even though in the movie we will be touching on how I arrived at my conclusions, and I think, for example, that whole thing with the numbers that appeared for me, all my scientifically minded and scientist friends, all of them unanimously told me, we think you should take this part out. It is not helping your case. And I unanimously told all of them, I can't do that because that's the truth about what happened. So you can't take, just because people are uncomfortable with how certain, thank you so much, Murdoch, I appreciate you, uncomfortable with how certain things are done, if they're done a certain way and they achieve a certain thing, credit needs to be given to where credit is due, not to me, but to the way of that way of thinking. It is true that so far in history, most esoteric thinking maybe came up with some wisdoms for how to live your life, but it never came up with anything technical, or at least wasn't acknowledged as such by the mainstream scientific world, because people who kind of know a little bit more about this would know that actually most, if not all, scientific big discoveries were made in a much more esoteric way than people realize. It either came in a dream or in a certain experience or in an altered state. Now, with people like Tesla, it was just a regular thing for him. He could just see things in his mind's eye, and he could literally rotate three-dimensional colorful objects in his mind. So there's a lot more that we don't understand about the world and the mind, and this is why we will emphasize this in the film, because it's important to give the credit where it's due. But aside from talking about my discovery and my story, we do want to make sure that everybody are feeling included in what we're talking about, because it is the case. It's talking about all of us and what it actually means for us as humanity, and what we have to do to move through this next step and come out on the other end as a better species that can be trusted to create something beautiful in the universe. And I know it sounds out there and grandiose. I think that's where we're at. I think we kind of have to get some things in order and give it a real shot, and not the flimsy way that we were doing things so far. Let's see. Let me take a few of the comments. We tried the laser with the golden ratio wavelength, 639 nanometers. So to all the questions, first of all, thank you so much for all these suggestions. I do take them, and I write actually most of them, if not all of them, down. The truth is about all the different variations of the experimentation, about all of them, and I have quite a few, both playing with sounds. I have particular materials I want to project it through. One of the big ones is that I want to achieve now is trying to exert a very powerful magnetic field around the diode to see if we can see something through the Zeeman effect. All of these things require time and money. For example, the magnet costs $15,000 to produce that amount of magnetism. Now that more people are paying attention, maybe we'll be able to just get access to like a lab where we can just borrow time and come in and try this. But in either case, there's a very long list of types of experiments that are on the table, and it's just a matter of doing them. And that, again, requires, even if we're doing like a super, rudimentary version, ultimately, if we want to truly understand, we have to take this more seriously as humanity. So we have to put in some capital into making the things happen. So we have to because you have to pay scientists who are there to actually, I'm all for putting this to a full-on scientific investigation, double blinds, whatever is required. And actually, I'm much more interested from the physics perspective, even though neuroscience would absolutely have to be involved. But to all the comments about the different kinds of experimentation, yeah, there's a giant list. Keep sending it. I'm registering almost all of it. And then we'll be able to see if these things yield fruit and which ones and exactly what they mean. Deep Rock Labs is saying also, when refracting speed and direction changes, frequency remains, but this changes wavelength. It is crazy to think your laser is hitting that 639. So the truth is that other frequencies work as well. So I wouldn't make too much of the particular frequency. Green and blue work as well. And in fact, what's interesting is that with at least with the ones we tried, the red seems to have just the code. The green and the blue seems to have like other content aside from the code, which is interesting. It's not conclusive yet, but it might be that other wavelengths have like added information, or like, you know, different parts of the whatever the puzzle is. Believe me, it's a way more complex and majestic. I mean, the reality, not a stupid childish. No major. Yeah, well, the real proposition, definitely not childish. The proposition is not that we're in the software, but that the world at bottom is computational, and what we thank you, Marta, and in that context, the real world is the computational world, and we are just a subset of that larger computational space. And I always say, so when we discovered computation, what we discovered is actually an access to this higher computational space. And this is why, when we're utilizing computation, which is the abstraction that is doing the work, the instantiation of which is computers, but the instantiation of what? The thing that is doing the work is computation, not the computer. Computers just execute, right? It's instantiated computation in matter, basically. And so this is why we can do a lot more complex things by utilizing computation than we ever can just by manipulating physical things, because it's part of a more real, a more robust world, so to speak. Terence McKenna called it the transcendent object in the end of history. Basically, the eschaton at the end of time, yeah. Terence McKenna is definitely one of my biggest heroes. He's the one I think gave me the courage originally to think in unorthodox directions. Amazing, David. If you order your laser on Amazon, great. And if you have any questions, you can always email me. It's lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Thank you, Nico. Speaking of the two brain hemispheres, have you heard of the CIA project related to the Gateway process? Yeah, so this is a known question. The CIA project, just so you know, it's all based on the Monroe Institute, which was never a secret, by the way. The CIA just tried all kinds of things that the Monroe Institute came up with, but I don't know what exactly was classified. Maybe the fact that the CIA was trying it, but the method and technique was never classified. It's something that the Monroe Institute has been doing for a long time, and you can just go on YouTube right now and just listen to the hymn syncs, and I can tell you they work. It is very interesting, but it was never a secret, the techniques. I think that meme came out as a way to sell the story, and there might be, I mean, I read the declassified documents. I don't have a way to know if they're fake or not. The thing is that, again, I think maybe the reason they were classified is because nobody wanted to know that the government is trying this kind of stuff. But again, the method itself was never classified, so you could always find it. And there's a lot of techniques like that, by the way. What's up, Joseph? Is it hard to draw the symbols that you see? Do they stay consistent and changing all the time? Yeah, they're moving all the time. There's a lot of them, so it's very difficult to kind of close in and like. But people did this. I had in the trailer, you can see this piece of paper in the beginning. If you look closely, you'll see like the symbols on the left. That's exactly what it looks. Well, exactly is a stretch, but it's very close to what it looks like. That's why I always say it's weirdly it looks like in the movie, which I think is actually not that surprising if you consider the fact that creative people, they're very sensitive to, I guess, whatever the higher space is producing, and then they just all these inspirations, they're just picking up all these ideas and they're translating them. They're like a channel to these things, so it might not be that crazy. How are you, Gabriel? Good to see you. Thank you. I love the shirt too. The creator of the simulation is God. Sure, I can get behind that. Wait a minute, my mistake. You're the guy that did that. Did what? I've been playing with this idea that base reality is not actually a human reality. First of all, definitely not, but also that there is no base reality. The whole thing is computational. It's just up to infinity. Listening in, love art, science, technology, and philosophy. 11 p.m. here. Awesome, Joseph. Thank you. So, just so you guys know, one of the biggest things that I always emphasize, which is very important, even though this is wild, the truth is that no matter how crazy the thing is, what you're experiencing right now, this moment, right now, is exactly the same thing you have if you would go to 5 dimensions, to 8 dimensions, to 100 dimensions. Makes no difference. No matter how crazy the content is and how mesmerizing, the moment of experience is the same. And added content is not actually the thing that produces the experience. So it's a choice how to treat the present moment. And I know this is a very chewed up kind of meme, and it's been expressed a billion times over the millennia, but it is true. So if you can't be happy right now, you're not going to be happy in 5 dimensions or 100 dimensions. It is interesting, but this is a very important thing to remember, because you can teach yourself to just be happy and equanimous right now. There are meditation techniques to do that. There are introspection techniques to do that. There's a lot of methods, but it's very important to do that for all of us, because whatever is unfolding will require us to stay very centered. So I highly encourage people to either do a Vipassana retreat, which are free, or get into some kind of a practice that requires them to show up on the daily and do something that involves inner observation. Not as a feel kind of good tool, but as a practice that is essential for whatever we're embarking on now. Any thoughts on Alan Watts? Love Alan Watts. And all of his philosophies are basically, like, he called himself a spiritual entertainer, so he was a really good storyteller, but I don't know that he had his own philosophy. He was just basically retelling a lot of things in a very fascinating way. Dimensions, is it quantifying? What do you mean by that, Joseph? I don't know. I bet the molecule can make you pretty happy on other dimensions. No. It's pretty crazy. It actually jars a lot more people than it makes them happy. I mean, it's fascinating to know that it's possible, but it's a very jarring experience. Once again, welcome everybody on YouTube and Twitch and X. If you guys can like the live on all these channels, including on TikTok, it definitely helps the chat to draw more people so we can have this conversation in a larger forum. Appreciate you guys in advance. Let's see. The film, the film depends on budget. So we put out, as you saw, we put out as a crowdfunding thing. People, because it went viral, people started donating, which is incredible. Me and Aaron working on it in our spare time. So if there's no budget or small budget, then we're just gonna keep doing it when we can. And it might. Thank you so much, Murdoch. I appreciate you. Marduk, sorry, not Murdoch, Marduk. And oh man, thank you so much. So it really depends on that. Simply, how much time can we allocate to? We're gonna finish it either way. So it can take 6 months, 7 months. If we all of a sudden get a big budget somehow, great. Then we can just go full force. We can go full time, and then probably within 3-4 months we can finish the whole thing. But yeah, either way it's gonna come out, and either way we're gonna make sure that the product is something that people really enjoy and will inspire people to maybe want to understand more about the world. How hard that laser DIY? What? Sorry, I don't know what DIY is. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe there's something that's like very right on the surface. Maybe my brain is just tired and not making the connection. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry, not an expert. Yeah. If you can clarify, I don't know what you mean by hard that laser. Oh, okay. Now I understand, Cal. Thank you. Cal is always on it. Provision and permission is coming. Awesome. Doesn't matter. The effects are worth any pain in the way of building. Have you tried seeing the code with other psychedelics? Yeah, it works with mushrooms, and I had a shaman try this with Aya, and it worked on both cases. With mushrooms, you need a lot more. You need like at least, I think, 3.5 grams to make it work. It's just also a commitment, you know. With the spirit molecule, it just kind of it comes and goes, and also it's the most coherent. But with Aya, it definitely works. I can't say that I know for a fact that it works with anything else. It might, because I think they do similar things to a certain point, and maybe that is the only thing that is required to see the code. I'm not sure. Maybe the other ones do as well. Does the location change the code glyphs with the project when it's projected? No. So the answer to this question is no. So far, nothing changed the code. It's just moving on its own accord and doing what it's doing. Consciousness in the cache lines. Yep. I really wonder if Neuralink would be able to transmit data to a machine. Exactly. That's exactly where this has to kind of go. Like if you want to do any like real analysis on what we're saying, you're going to need something like an advanced version of Neuralink to basically be able to record directly from the cortex and send it to like some kind of an advanced chat GPT to try and see patterns. But yeah, so I would assume that would be the way to go. They can already do that to some degree. They can project people's minds onto a screen. So I don't think we're that far away. Sean is asking or saying, hey Dan, have you ever had a dream of something, then through time you find yourself within that exact dream that you had, like a deja vu experience but ramped up to 1,000,000? Wondering what this is. Yes, I did have that. I do think it should basically, because the truth about unfolding events is that the possibilities for them always floats somewhere. And I think you can pick up on that in advance. And then there's a chance that it might happen exactly that way. So I actually don't find it that bizarre, to be honest. Computation is downgraded from mind, and computers are product of that approach. Explaining the underlying reality with subtitles is faulty thinking. I'm no hard feelings. No hard feelings. I think you're just wrong. You can follow David Deutsch's ideas on the subject. Most physicists would tell you that computation is a physical process, but I think that's actually a blind spot. It's a conflation of what you can actually say about the prime mover, right? So you can say that every time it's just like saying, it's actually exactly the same as saying consciousness is just an activity of the brain. Well, you can say it that way, but the truth is that no, there's no explanatory. There's the explanatory gap. There's no explanation following from you saying that because these neurons fire this way, somehow it gives rise to this thing that you're experiencing. It seems completely orthogonal, and it's like a completely different kind of quality. You can say they're directly correlated, or maybe even the same process looked at from two different perspectives, but at no point one collapses to the other in any obvious way. In fact, there is no way even to start beginning to describe a way by which to do that. Actually, Yasha Bach is one of these people that claims to have done that. I don't think he delivers on that point, to be honest, but he's still a brilliant human being, and you guys should all go listen to him on computation in general. But to that point, I don't think the same way that some people say that consciousness is just an activity of the brain. It's the equivalent statement of saying that computation is a physical process. It's the same. Because yes, whenever computation happens in our world, it always happens to some kind of a physical process. That is true. But there's no explanation as to why computation is even possible. There's no laws of physics from which computation arises from. It looks completely orthogonal, just like consciousness is the crackling in the brains. So now, there's a lot of, obviously, the number of opinions is almost as the number of people and scientists. And, Penrose is over there in the corner with microtubules, and consciousness is quantum phenomena. A lot of computer scientists and philosophers say that, and physicists say that you don't need quantum in order to create what the brain is doing. So they think that, at least from what it seems now, there's no reason to postulate that the consciousness is quantum and it's just like regular computation. There's a lot of differences of opinion, and obviously not everybody's opinion counts as much because some people are actually experts in the field. But I do think that because we're speaking here, at least, about pushing ontology itself, it is a fair game to say that maybe certain axioms need to be reassessed. One of them is computation just what the physical world is doing, or is there something beyond that is causing other things plus what our world is doing to happen? And I think it's the latter. And the reason I think that is not because I had any preference, or I was, for example, never attracted to the idea of the simulation. It was never interesting to me personally. I thought it was kind of boring, to be honest, because it's very arbitrary in the sense that if it is the case that it's computational and it's actually simulated by another civilization, then from that point on, it's kind of arbitrary because you don't know what their social norms are. You don't know what the decisions were made, why the decisions were made to make the laws of physics exactly what they are. It could be a number of infinite kind of reasons because of their whims as society, right? So it kind of shoots physics in the foot because it says, well, you can understand things inside of this bubble, but never outside of it, which is kind of like, okay, well, what's the point of that, right? But the reason I'm taking it on board is because I have direct observation of it now. So now I don't have a choice but to follow the scientific method and say, okay, well, this is there, so we're not at liberty anymore to say it's maybe this, like whatever. No, it actually dials in the options, and I think that's where a lot of the philosophical discussion about the subject and what I'm doing part ways, because I'm not offering any philosophical proposition here really. I'm just calling it a simulation, which I still think is the closest word to describe what it really is, which is some kind of computational environment. But of course, and I think it's a given, that the more we're going to start to understand, the words will change. We're going to start creating differentiations between what, certain kinds of computation are, how they influence what we believe consciousness is. It's going to be a lot of things that are going to be evolving, and language around this thing is one of the biggest things that's going to be evolving. But as a conversational starter, simulation, I think, is the thing that fits the most. It's also the term that most people are familiar with, so it's easy to start that conversation this way. This is why we're having it. If I would start using all these kind of like esoteric terms about what I think it closer to say what it is, you would never grab enough attention to even have the conversation. And because I do think the conversation is important, I choose to go with something that most people are familiar with and at the same time is the closest thing to what I believe it to be. So definitely no hard feelings. Like I said, I just think you're wrong. I don't think, at this point, I think there's enough on the table to suggest that to say that computation is just a physical process is not capturing what the truth of the matter is. Is there a way to make laser wider? Maybe putting a couple of cross lasers. Yep, did that. It doesn't really feel, thank you so much, Jess, as a lot more, to be quite honest. It's almost like it helps you dial in your attention when you're looking at the smaller sliver. But definitely something that I think eventually we should do. Non-experts in saying some computation cannot give you the universe. Well, no, it absolutely can give you the universe. In fact, computation already is giving you universes, and this is just computation that we're running. And we're nowhere near as advanced as a civilization that will be running our universe. So all of these points, non-expert, I don't think it's an analogy. I don't think it's the same as when people, when we invented machines and when we invented engines, people tended to talk about things in terms of, in mechanical terms, because it's the closest thing to the most advanced thing that we had. So it is a natural assumption to think that because we now have computation, we think of everything in terms of computational, analogies. Fair point. I just don't think it runs through. I think that in this case it's actually different because computation is actually closer to what the thing really is. And yes, there's more. For sure there's more attributes that we have to discover, but you have to use some language, and that is the closest to what the real thing is. And I wouldn't say that it's an analogy or a metaphor. No, I don't think that's the case. If I can describe the characters, yeah, they look very much like Japanese katakana mixed with some Hebrew letters and some regular numbers from 0 to 5. All of these are approximations. The best way I can say is that it kind of looks like an alien language. Yeah, I really am interested. That's why I'm being. Oh, you're not annoying at all. I hope you don't take it as a. Like, I'm not at all, like, first of all, annoyed. And also, this is a great line of, back and forth. But again, I would follow some people that think a little bit more outside the box, but still have the technical, scruples in place. So Bernardo Kastrup is a great person to listen to on the subject. He kind of revives idealism, which the idea that philosophical position, the consciousness is fundamental. It is the universe itself, from a very practical and concrete way of thinking about it. And he is a computer scientist. He used to work for CERN. He had high-tech companies, so he definitely understands computation, believe me. And he also understands philosophy very deeply. Double PhD, very smart guy. So Bernardo Kastrup is one person, Donald Hoffman is another person, and Joshua Bach. These are the three people that I will listen to get a much clearer but also much more expansive picture of kind of like the cutting edge of understanding and philosophical thought on this matter. I assure you that it's something you're really into. You'll get a kick out of all three of these fellas. Got me some Demetrius. What's up, Demetrius? Don't get me started on the molecule. Lovely stuff. Well, I'm glad you think it's lovely. I'm happy to have you here. I want to learn how to make. Well, that's a different story. At the moment, it's unfortunately it's a classified substance, so can't help you there. I'm sorry. Dimensions. Mentality is caused by the Dimensions mentality is caused by the 3D dimensions thinking. Well, no, we're not talking about just spatial dimensions. We're talking about dimensions in general, which simply means degrees of freedom. So, a color is a dimension. It's a spectrum along which there's some kind of a continuum of change that you can describe in terms of some units or some attribute that you can apply a universal scalar to that changes. So with color, it can be a wavelength, right? That's the scalar. With space, x, y, and z axes, we just attach like regular numbers and the units of measurement that have to be the same across all three to make it make sense. Now, obviously, you have a lot of tricks. You have twisting spaces. You have logarithmic ways of describing things. But all of these are just descriptive tools to basically describe the fact that you can move in three different directions. And the definition of a different dimension is pretty straightforward, actually, is that if you can move along one dimension and without moving at all across the other dimensions, it counts for a dimension. So it's completely orthogonal. So you can always move along the x-axis, and without moving along the z or the y-axis at all. And the same is applied for all three of them. But they're just spatial dimensions that we're familiar with. You can describe a fourth spatial dimensions this way, and in fact, infinite number of them. You can't visualize them, but you can describe them mathematically. And the time dimension, I guess we unit of passing of either computational steps or whatever you want to call it. There's always the fact that it has some kind of measurable units and that you can move along it without moving along any other dimension. That would be the definition of a dimension. So I would actually say that each one of our senses is a separate dimension. And this is why I'm saying that the mind is actually an infinitely dimensional space that allows for an infinite perturbation of both execution and ability to maneuver through this infinitely dimensional space. I think this last sentence was more convoluted than it needed to be, and it didn't make as much sense as it needed to. So just disregard the last sentence. Does that mean it's a simulation? Again, it's a matter of definition, and I think that the word simulation, what it actually encapsulates, which is a computationally rendered digital space, it is the closest thing if you look at the details of what that means and what we see in that space. I would say it is still the word that captures it the best, the betterest. Common conclusion of everything built code. Yep. Wondering what sparked interest in all of this, or if you've covered it. Yeah, I'm covering it quite a bit in my videos, and the whole documentary is actually going to be about that. If you go to Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts on YouTube, you can watch my trailer there, and it's, it's, we're going to be talking a lot about that in the documentary. Who created the code? Great question, I'm not sure. I've never considered it that way concerning the senses of dimensions. Thank you, Fletch. Yeah, I again, if you take the very dry definition of a dimension, which is that you can move along one without moving along any other one, it is dimension. You can taste different things, and even within the taste. Well, actually, that's so like within the taste buds, you can describe the combinations between the fundamental, like the bitter, because the things that you have receptors for. So I think it's bitterness, sweetness, sourness, right? And I'm forgetting right now. I think there's 4, right? And also there's like in the in-between. I'm sure there's some taste expert here and they can correct me. But they kind of like the fundamental colors, right? And they can give you all the other tastes. And I think this applies to all the other senses. So yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward actually. And thank you so much for the gift, by the way. I appreciate that. Tried a substance like mushrooms? Yes. With the laser, you mean? Yes. It works with mushrooms, worked with Aya. Truman Show 2.0, basically. Would love to try it your way. Sure. If you guys go to codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com, you have the protocol there and all the laser and everything you need to get. Want to make it super clear. People asked us endlessly to make them, so we started making them. But we also have a list of what you can buy on Amazon and Alibaba. Just make it yourself. So it's not, it's definitely not very economically viable. So it takes, that's why they're much more expensive. You will save a lot of money if you just build it yourself. So we actually, we're very open about that. So it's right there. Everything is on that site. And if you want one, we can make one. But again, most people can just make it themselves. Truly, it's not that complicated. I saw that some content that you use on Discovery Trailer is old from the video you uploaded a year ago. Yeah, some of it. This trailer was made by the incredible, brilliant Aaron Venden. He did it in like a week just to kind of like show proof of concept. We have shot some of it at this point of the film itself. But yeah, there's definitely going to be, I promise you the film is going to be a lot more than that. But you're right. A lot of people on YouTube, I think it's because it's going viral on a lot of platforms and a lot of people came to YouTube to actually watch the trailer, which is great. It works either way, high dose of, I can't say it on TikTok, so, and obviously if I mixed the sky is diamond, so yeah, again, there's some fundamental thing that these substances change, all of them. They perturb some kind of a central system. Not sure if it's the dimethyltryptamine system, like John Dean is suggesting, but it's definitely something. And I think it stands to reason that it's going to be the case that probably a lot of these things can do that. Maybe even some forms of breath work. I just tried it with breath work and it didn't work for me, but I might. Yeah, try with shrooms. You're just going to need a lot more, that's all. It's kind of like, 3.5 grams at least to see it. And it's never going to be as coherent as like with the molecule. I had many dreams come true. I met my wife in a recurring dream starting when I was 7. That is wild. And I love stories like that. So thank you for sharing. Can you show us some symbols that you have written down? I don't have it with me. You can actually see it in the trailer in the beginning with a piece of paper. There's a schematic with like a red circle. If you look to the left, you'll see there's little characters. That's what it looks like. That's an actual drawing that somebody did. It feels like there are forces are aware of you have gained brute access to the matrix. Oh no, they're definitely aware. This is one of the biggest things that I asked in the beginning. Very directly, like if this is okay to talk about. And it seemed to have been yes. I will say that sometimes I do notice there's like a difference of opinion up there, whatever that means. But I mean, if it's available to know and we know it, okay. I don't believe in the whole like the gatekeeping for no reason and we can't tell you why. That's like, but again, there's like sometimes there is like a back and forth, but overall, first of all, I don't think it would be discoverable if it would be a complete secret. I think they could make it like completely undiscoverable. Second of all, I do think that there's actually a reason why we're supposed to find this, and then I do think it has a lot to do with getting our act together as humanity. I know it sounds, all of a sudden, I took us to like a weird semi-hippie place, but I think it's true. I think it's time that we grow up and stop behaving like children. That's the truth. Because we are becoming young adults in the universe and we can't behave the way that we do on many fronts if we are to become part of outstanding citizens of the galaxy. It feels like there are... Oh, okay. What is your take on quantum computing? I mean, it is the fundamental thing, yeah. So quantum is the fundamental world. There's no dispute about that. There's no question. Everything is quantum. Everything you see that we call classical physics is just quantum in the aggregate. That's it. It's just clumps that I'm using very, very broad stroke heuristics here, but it delivers the point. Everything that you see that is called classical physics is simply, according to quantum field theory, is simply a large clumps of quantum interactions that the average of them together appears to behave in a different way. So it's like classical physics. in which things are not in superpositions and all kinds of, but at bottom the world is quantum. Nobody this is not a, contentious point. So in the same way, quantum computing is the fundamental computing, of which the product of which can also give rise to regular computation. But quantum computing is the fundamental thing. Atoms on a quantum computer come and go from this dimension. Sure. The molecule presented me with interesting ontology. Okay, go ahead. Gave me a cosmic joke big into a name. I mean, they're really big on that, on the cosmic jokes. Andrew Lawson is saying, "Hey Dan, so interested in your new discovery. I just joined. Sorry. My question is, does anyone write down the same characters you're seeing, or is everyone seeing their own code?" No, that's the crazy part. Everybody's seeing the same thing. I'll have you know that one of the most common emails I get is that I see the code without the laser. I've been getting this email for years. I've gotten like hundreds of them. Maybe at this point, maybe over 1,000 times easy. Which is that people see the code without the laser in all kinds of situations. So, and when I investigate further, it's always the case, aside from actually a few, I will correct myself. There was a few cases in which people seem to see exactly what it's in the laser. That is true. I met a few people now, which is interesting. But most people, when they talk about the other code they see, it is a different kind of code. First of all, it's much more malleable, so they can actually change it with their attention. The crazy thing about the code in the laser is that nobody can change it no matter what they do, no matter who they are, no matter what they feel, no matter what they do around it. It makes no difference. It's the same thing. I had people that knew nothing about the code and told me exactly the same thing. I had people that I threw their scent off on purpose. I told them something else. And then they told me, I didn't see that thing you said, but I did see these weird Japanese looking characters. So people see the same thing. And it's also extremely coherent. You can kind of talk about it like it's just there, Let me take some questions from TikTok real quick. There's a lot of people, so I'm probably going to need some moderators soon. But I appreciate everything that, umami flavors. Yes, that's the one I was looking for, Nico. Thank you for that. I didn't know if it's, I always feel like I actually always forget that word, to be honest. And I myself, I love umami tastes. I love tomatoes and things like that. But the thing is that it always feels like you're some kind of a taste connoisseur when you know this like umami taste, We'll definitely check out the documentary. I have the same yearning to uncover these answers. Giovanni saying, "I believe I could talk for days with you. Keep up the great work. I'll be following." Thank you, Giovanni. I appreciate you, man. Maxim Barbin saying, "We are in base reality." Well, the proposition is that there is no base reality. It's all computation. Flipping the script. I'm Agent Smith from The Matrix. You're under arrest. Damn it. Wait, are you going to become everybody? Because that's a pretty... I was wondering, when he became everybody, do you think there was ever a glitch and these versions of everybody started having sex with each other? That would be weird. Anyways, I'm sorry, Agent Smith. Actually, Agent Smith is the one that made the film so great, to be honest. I mean, Hugo Weaving is just... Mwah! What an actor, man. He truly is the one that made the film. There's this whole thing going online where people postulate that actually he was the one because he fit all the criteria and Neo didn't fit all the criteria. It's very interesting. Just look up Agent Smith is the one on YouTube. It's a super fun little plot twist thought experiment. So, you're the one, Agent Smith. What's your favorite cosmic joke of theirs? Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. Some of them are very animated. So one of them was kind of like a cartoon where they were kind of doing this crazy crescendoing thing, and it was just getting crazier and crazier. And then at the end of it just went somebody was holding, one of these old, like a child's toy hammer thing that goes beep beep beep. You know what I'm talking about? So he was holding one of them, and at the end of all this insanity that was happening, to the rhythm of what was happening, he just went boop, beep, boop, boop. And then we went boop, everything just disappeared. That's it. There was no point to any of this. It's so that was one. And then another one in which they showed me kind of the ultimate picture. They're okay, strap on. We're going to show you the full thing. By the way, I'm not saying that necessarily means that was the thing, to be very clear. But basically, and I'm not even gonna go into the details right now because I think it requires a certain amount of energy that I don't think I have at the moment. But I'll talk about it in some upcoming lives again. And anyways, they showed me this like crazy thing where at the end of it, just basically, God finds out why, and it's like this the biggest saga you could possibly imagine. And then it was the end of that, and then I'm kind of sitting there, and they just basically kind of stood back, and they're like, okay. And what I understood the silence to represent was the sentiment of like, okay, so now you know. Now what? Exactly. Just live your life. That was kind of like a very. It was coded in a joke, but it was very profound. And I was like, okay, you know, we are doing what we can, but you have to be here and do this because that's you've been placed exactly where you were from all the stuff that are happening in this is by the way this is it sounds like one of these like chewed up little memes that somebody pulls out of their back pocket that sounds just like they're somehow philosophically cheating. But no, this what I'm about to say is just 100% true, irrefutably true. What each and every one of you is experiencing right now, literally nothing in all of existence, not just in our universe, in all of existence, is experiencing exactly what you're experiencing right now. That's how special it is. So why not give it the full attention that it deserves? And that's kind of like what I got from that experience. Yep, Messi. I love him being compared to Messi because he's the goat for sure. I'd love to help you if you like. Um, with what? Just with moderating? Oh yeah, I would love that. Hold on. Let me. How do I make you moderator? Uh, uh, there you go. There you go. If you want to help, you're a moderator. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate you. Hey, Danny, Chillax there. How are you doing? So now you're Hypernova? What's up, Chillax? Good to see you, man. I get to meet Chillax, so good to see you, my man. How are you, by the way? Is everything good? How do you explain that we are living in a different universe at the same time? Actually, I do see it as a pretty plausible scenario in which all the we actually are in each and every one of our perspectives is actually alone in their own universe, and all the other people are just representations, kind of like projections for us. But here's the twist: these people do exist for real. They are their own agents, but in their own universe. So that way, it kind of creates a system that's very safe. That if you start hurting people too much, you're actually not hurting anybody, but the system knows that that's the kind of things you do. So it kind of registers that, right? And in addition to that, the system also registers, it's like this giant mainframe that has all the information about what all the kinds of people and beings would behave like under certain circumstances. And then if you encounter that, the projection of that person, that for you is just a projection, but they are a real person in their universe, then the data frame pulls that file and says, okay, that person, how would they behave if they would be in the presence of this exact interaction? And so technically you are interacting with the real interaction of that person, but not actually with the conscious agent of that person. Does that make sense? So then it keeps the system safe, and then the system still gets all the information it needs. And it's very convincing to the extent that even when you know this, it doesn't matter. You would still treat everybody as they're real because, I mean, technically their behaviors are real. And so it reflects much more on you or on me when you're interacting with the rest of the world. Dreams tied to reality? Yeah, everything is reality. Digital perception, Danny Boy. What's up, Vern? Oh man, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Would be cool to build a laser diffraction into some goggles. Yeah, that would be great. Could make sense of some of the code. Not yet. Not yet, but we're working on it. I had a term that works. Go ahead. It's part of ontology baked into the name. Demetrius Dracosophos. I'm not sure. Sorry, it's too sophisticated for me. I'm at the moment. I'm very very tired. Basically, we should stop and think and realize we're all being scammed. By whom? By me? No, you're definitely not being scammed by me. Um, so you think there's something after computation? Again, I think it's a meta. So it's whatever we call computation will just evolve. It's a definition, right? But it's a thing. People forget that the words that we define things by, they're actual things. They have a nature, they have a telos, they have an essence. And I think interacting with the essence of things is the new way of doing things. We already see it with human interaction in some pockets of the world, and you will see it more and more even with concepts. You're going to go into the essence of what the thing is versus attaching a word and saying, this is that, that is that. Well, actually, the dictionary says it doesn't matter. The dictionary is just a guideline of what we usually call this kind of thing, but the real thing is much more than the word. And that is what we're going to be evolving more and more into. And computation is not going to be any different. It's going to evolve because we're going to go deeper into what it really is. How do you think the Atman, human spirit, relates to or works with the simulation? I think they're the ultimate hard drives. They go from the alpha to the omega, consolidate only the most relevant new information possible. So it throws every lifetime, it throws away, I guess you can call it the soul, everything that was kind of like repeating information, and only keeps the truly unique information. So by the end of time, you have the most accurate representation of everything that is possible in general. That would be my conception of the Atman. What's up, Kyla? I'm sure you get a repeated question from people, so I apologize in advance if I ever ask you any. Do you have any theories on why we have a very little to no memory of who we were before we came into these bodies? I think because it's not relevant to your actual survival here. It for some reason it became relevant now. This is why we kind of know about it. I think, but I think that it has something to do with the level of energy and attention you would be allocating to certain things if you would have to remember like the entire legacy. It's the same reason you don't remember everything you did in your life. People who have perfect memories, which is a real thing by the way, they're very miserable people. That's a known thing because they literally can't forget. Not when somebody, you know, offended them, or it's not a good situation to be in. So I think it has something to do with that. What's my opinion of the molecule? I mean, I think you can kind of guess that from from my videos. Each of our senses are actually just the specialization of one sense. I actually don't think you can possibly describe that. You can say that there's some proto sense, which is what I would call inness, the distinction between me and the rest, or a perceptual point that just hovers in whatever it is. But if you're talking about technically, I don't think you can describe to any satisfaction of anyone a sense that by which a mechanism by which that sense becomes the other senses. Because what you're interested in when you talk about an explanation is the thank you so much, Lilani, appreciate you, is the explanation of how that happens, which will require you to literally treat it like a falling domino and saying, this is what happens here, this is what happens here, this is what happens here, this is why this domino falls. You can't get there from just saying there's an ultimate. It's just like saying everything is one. And I always say, okay, now what? What is that? What? Okay. Like, so what? Like, it's not doing anything. You know what I mean? This is something that happens only on the molecule or the mind altering substance. Like, yeah, so this is one of these things where we know for a fact it works with the molecule, it works with mushrooms, and works with Aya. It might be working with other things, but these are the only ones I know for sure. Which chat you reading from? Well, I'm reading. I'm also having TikTok at the same time, which is just Danny Goller. X is Goller Danny, so just the other way around. And Twitch, which I just started recently, which is Laser X83. But mostly when I'm not talking to the YouTube one, it's the TikTok one, which is Danny Goller. What's up, Danny? Good to see you, man. These are not my wallpapers, but they are very nice. I'm in shooting a documentary, and I'm staying in the house of the director, and This is his wallpapers. Dark Bakugou. I'm excited too, man. I think it's time we discover something new about the world. Appreciate you. Yeah. Okay. I do have to say that since was a kid, I've been able to see what I've been told is design matrix. Interesting. Let me see if I can jump just a little bit to see if two halves of the brain. Sorry guys, because I will have to adjourn soon. I will have to kind of jump through the questions and see if there's any questions that didn't repeat yet. Somewhere in the internet about a year ago. I lost track of where that was and have been looking for you since. Happy to see it happening. Yes, appreciate you, man. David Kataho says, wow. I don't know what you're referring to, but yeah, wow. You got it, Andrew. Thank you so much for the donation, Lone Wolf. Appreciate you. There are conceptualizations at place if interacted with a different way of being, might be different results. I agree with that. Does the observer matter? Is it the same? Danny, you always have the best comments. Is it the same matter and thus important in it for being? So this is actually a point that I do want to outline real quick because it's an important one. Do we need psychedelic computer for psychedelic problems? Psychedelic computers is something we should definitely get on, Nico. That's a great idea. I don't even think you're joking, to be honest, which is why it's extra awesome. Nico is an AI. Wait, are you AI researcher? I forget. Something along those lines, right? So, what Danny is saying here, which is, can we actually perceive different kinds of laws of physics? I know I'm reiterating it a little bit, by being a different kind of an observer. And it's just. And actually, this is exactly what Wolfram is saying in his new physics project. That he used to think, he said this on Lex, and it's in one of my, if you guys scroll on my page, you see I did like a Lex Friedman fan video one time, a long time ago. It never took off, but it was a fun one. So it's a fun little 4-minute thingy. And I put that clip in there. You'll see Lex on the thumbnail. I don't remember what it's called, but anyways, so in it he says, I used to think that at least aliens share our laws of physics. And now I know it isn't true. And what's interesting is not that they're experiencing different laws of physics, they're experiencing the same laws of physics, but looked at from a different spot on what he calls the Roolead. The Roolead is a graph, a computational graph, which is basically just a decision tree. So not to make it too complex, it just basically means you have this, decision tree, and each node on the decision tree decides the next step of the evolution of the computational tree. Okay, so if you have under a certain rule, so if the rule is every time you see a B, switch it to an A. If you see A, B in that sequence, switch it to a C. I'm just making it up, obviously, but let's say those are the initial rules. Then the tree will evolve according to these rules, and every time it will be A or B or whatever it is, and then it just branches out and it evolves to infinity. Okay, the Roolead. There's a few of these graphs in his theory. The Roolead is the graph that is describing the evolution of the rules themselves. So basically, there's a prime rule that we don't know, but that will be an interesting one to try and figure out because that's kind of like the holy grail. And then that rule evolves into a new rule, and that rule, by the definition of the previous rule, evolves to the next rule, and then it branches out that way. What's interesting is that they found, through his theory, a lot of the stuff that we know from physics, both quantum field theory, quantum physics, quantum mechanics. I don't remember if they said any string theory. Maybe, I don't remember. One second. But they definitely found a way to describe a lot of stuff that we understand in physics. I think the field equations as well. So what's interesting about the Roolead, it refers to exactly what Danny is asking. Because he said that if a being is sitting somewhere in the Roolead, it's still the same universe. But each of these branches contain a sliver, a slice of the observer that is the full system. But these observers, they're in their own timelines, in their own histories, and they're only experiencing what makes sense to them according to the rules by which they're operating, by which they're evolving. And if you look back at the decision tree, all you will see, this is equivalent of looking back into time into the universe, you see the decision tree of rules that gave rise to your exact decision tree location in the universe. So you will see the laws of physics as X and Y, and because of that. But if you have a being that evolved in a different part of the decision tree, even if they're on the same level of the decision tree with you, if they look back, their laws of physics will look different to them, even though they are the same laws of physics, because they evolved by different rules of evolution. Now, I know it sounds like, what are you talking about? Just Google Wolfram Ruliad. Let him describe the Ruliad. Stephen Wolfram Ruliad. That will be, so it's exactly what you're saying, Danny, and I think he's actually absolutely right. This would explain the multiverse, this will explain so many different things, and it would even make sense of some religious predispositions of seeing in the world, of looking at the world. Yeah, my brain is definitely shutting down. Welcome to everyone. Happy to have you here. If you're called, please share and like. Oh, Jess, you're the best. Thank you so much. I feel very, very taken care of. This is amazing. Thank you. Dimitri was saying my favorite joke was, when you die, this myth'll take you on a trip to a mean awakening while spiraling through time. That is kind of awesome. Oh, you mean the puns? Yeah, they're very punny. They are very punny. I agree with that. That's great. Can't wait for this to keep growing. So many people here. Yeah, man. It does feel like we're coming together, basically. I'll be honest, I'm a skeptic. I want to see it myself, but not sure I have the balls to freebase the molecule like that and risk my own, albeit presumptive sanity, looking for a documentary. So Lone Wolf, first of all, you're my kind of people, because I'm also a skeptic. I would never line up behind something in this unless I would know it to absolutely be a fact and check it with like a bunch of people. And I think that ultimately it's a conversation that we're all having. And like Terence McKenna said, if it's real, you can take the pressure. The truth will take care of itself. It does not require your participation. So, but in the sense, we're kind of executing it, right? So in that sense, we're very aligned. And you also said something very important, which is that it is not for everyone. And I never would claim that it is. There's no other way of saying what I'm saying. It's just that's the truth. But obviously, as an adult, use everything on your own discretion. And hey, if you have some issues with mental health, shaky mental health, of course, by no means don't come near these things. They can destabilize you seriously. So I thought it goes without saying, but maybe it is important to emphasize now that more people are engaged. Definitely do not just go on this ride if this is not something that you're already familiar with, or you have a way in which you feel very, very, safe. And yeah, this is not, it's just like going to space. It's not for everyone. So if you just want to follow along from the side, please. And this is, I guess, a very important disclaimer. I feel more stable in them. Nice. What is the role of the drugs, mushrooms in this experiment? Well, they seem to be allowing for more frames per second of reality itself to be perceived, like literally ramping up the frames per second. That's the short answer. Solid take on attention, good stuff. I would love the reliable source of the molecule. Yeah, Australia is problematic, man. I'm telling you, Matthew. Well, decent links to how to make it. You can always just look up. This is a good plug. I mean, as far as I know, it's kind of like out there, so it's not. I'm not even saying anything that is. But if you look for, here, I'll give you the page. What is happening? Oh. One second. So if you go to, wow, my brain is like truly shutting down. Oh man, wow. Hold on. 1 second. I won't disappear, TikTok. The business. 1 second. I'm not Oh my god, this is amazing. Who did this? Jess, thank you. TikTok is amazing with these graphics. Okay, guys, 1 second. 1 second. So if you, yeah, you can go to Facebook and find Eric Peterson. I don't think he minds that I would give his name. So Eric Peterson, he has a channel. He has a whole channel on YouTube. he's he's out there doing it, like, disseminating the information. So that's the best address I can give you as far as that. How to see the codes? Well, that's exactly what we're discussing here. Giovanni seems a little shaky. Giovanni, don't go to space. We gotta get Wolfram on the pot. Oh, that would be great. Let's work on that. We need Elon and we need Wolfram. We need Elon stat. I'm going to take a risk. Curiosity. Yeah, so don't take a risk, David. Again, do it still with a very conscious mind. Truly, like it's not a it is not a joke. Like in terms of, like, it's very real, and that is one of these things, man. Like, don't yeah, find somebody who's very, familiar, that can take you, that can kind of hold space for you. It is not a game, guys. You are the universe in the place you occupy. Well, actually, always more. Projecting, planning, stepping, being and becoming. I love you, man. Then you're literally the first person to pronounce it right. What you said? Yes. What does it only occur in refracted? So I made a mistake in my first video of it's the fact that English is not my first language is not an excuse. I think I was just too like preoccupied with making the video, and I said refracted when the truth is you have to diffract it first. It is different. Refraction helps for some reason, but you have to diffract it first. So first of all, that should everybody know that. Everybody should know that. So now, why does it only occur in refracted or diffracted light, do you think? Also must be special refraction method, diffraction method, unless I can run and jump in a pool and be fully enveloped by. That's exact. Okay, so now you know the what the answer to the question is. It's not refraction, it's diffraction. And diffraction is always specific, because the lenses are made specifically for that wavelength. And I don't know why, by the way. That's a very important question. There's something about the angle. It might be because it is still the wave function. I don't know. Like it's at the moment I have no idea, and I don't want to postulate because I think it will require some very deep technical observation there. Some people claim that they have seen letters and symbols on alien ships, allowing them to change dimensions and some other things. Yeah, I've heard the claims. At the moment, I'm trying to stick with things that we can actually do, like democratically, that most people can do, not some claims, but maybe they could, but these kind of claims, they just kind of, I don't know, I get lost on that. Long conversation to be had. Yes, sir. I just. Do you have a Twitter? Yes, it's Goler Danny. Goler Danny. Danny. Even though it's barely active, but it will be now, so maybe I should ask more people to follow me. So it's Goler Danny on X. Have you tried the laser underwater? No. Again, it all comes back to the fact that it's refraction, not diffraction. Danny with a great question. Albert Hoffman. You mean Donald Hoffman? Oh, wait. You're talking about like Albert Hoffman, the original. I can't say the name of the substance, but the originator of the other molecule. Is that what you're talking about? How did you diffract the laser beam? Did you use the lens and just a glass of water? A glass of water with refracted, not diffracted. You can just buy it on Amazon with the diffracted lens attached. Super cheap, by the way. I smoked the molecule a couple of times and used Aya for a few years. Is this legit? What you discovered? Yes. Yes, it is. I know it's hard to believe, but it is. Have you tried projecting and viewing it on vapor or smoke? Yes, but I also knew that it would never work because the scattering is too random. You need enough photons to come back from one direction to create a coherent image. That's how you see things. If you have it bouncing off of smoke, you don't have enough photons coming back from the same direction, so it's not like you can see things in the air. It just scatters all over, so you can't see anything. There is a way to do this, but it's a very complex thing to do. It requires a lot of very heavy mathematical calculation, exact angling of light from different directions, the use of mirrors, the use of mirrors mostly, actually. There's a company, I forget the name of it, that they created a full-on hologram. And I don't mean like up until now people were creating kind of like fake holograms. No. like a hologram, like in Star Wars, hologram. And they use something, there's a method that they use. It's crazy, but it's very complicated to do. It's very complex. Oh, thank you so much for the donation. There was somebody, why doesn't it tell me who that is? Oh, Nevering. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the, very generous of you. Have you tried projecting and viewing and vapor? Okay. Conversational, that is specifically how I found it. Yeah. Does the double slit theory make more sense on the molecule? But it should be re-examined. Let me tell you that. Nevering. It was actually the first thing on my mind when I was thinking if we can communicate between the. I thought of it as, different universes, and it goes back to David Deutsch's idea of description of the double slit experiment actually, and how quantum computers work, and that's what I was thinking about when I saw these first numbers that I'm describing in my first video. When then connected to some kind of a physics paper. So you're right on. It's definitely somehow related very deeply to this. Not sure how yet. The rule yet is very cool, Angry. Are you able to photograph what people see in the laser? Well, I mean, you can photograph the laser, but I mean, you still have to be on the molecule. That you can't get around that at the moment. Can a supernova, nukes or CERN affect or shake up the simulation? I think I understand the question where it's coming from, but the real question that you're asking is there a certain amount of energy that can create some perturbation in the computational space? Is really what you're asking. The short answer is I think should be the case. Yeah, I think maybe this is why kind of like aliens started appearing after we built these things. But these are high speculations on top of high speculations on top of high speculations, which are fun to do, but I can't give you like a concrete answer because I'm trying to be a little bit more dialed into things that we can know with any amount of certainty. So it makes sense, but I don't know. It takes serious mental fortitude to explore the depths of reality. Absolutely. You're always in control. No, not always, but I'm not bad at that in these spaces. I don't know why that is. Oh, certainly the molecule is epistemological hand grenade. Epistemological hand grenade is great. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for the thank you, Nevering. I appreciate you. Geary G. Are you able to photograph what people see? So same answer. You still have to be on the molecule until we figure out what continuum it's along, and then we can maybe send a device or do it in a different way. But I think directly recording with Neuralink, it would be the way to go. I have a friend who interviewed Wolfram. If you need help with contact, absolutely, Demetrius, that would be incredible. I mean, given in the beginning he'll probably think I'm some kind of a crackpot or some guy who's just playing with substances, but absolutely, we should talk about it. Email me, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. We can talk about it. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Okay, let me see. Yeah, feed the camera the molecule. Yeah. What would be the physical explanation of the phenomenon? Any hypotheses? I think it is space-time itself, but that's a hypothesis. I think it's literally space-time. So no one can know what they are watching except watch it themselves. Yeah, but that's the case with your consciousness too. You just don't notice that fact. You don't know if anybody else is conscious. You just assume it because they behave and look like you. But you don't really know. You only thing you know for sure is that you are conscious. That's it. And it's kind of the same. The dog said. The reason it happens in the fractional lines with the sense of comment, the census comment. Interesting. Have you looked into trying looking into the supercell or even a supercell with laser? You mean like the cloud? I love ooh, that's gonna be crazy. I haven't thought of that, but that should be an experience. Could someone draw what they are seeing based on what they said there? Yeah, a few people did. It's in the trailer, actually. You can look in the trailer in the beginning. There's this piece of paper that is being shown, kind of like in a slow-mo. On the left side, there's little characters. These characters is what it looks like. Could someone draw what... Oh, same question. That's why you need high... Sorry, I can't say the name of the molecules because I'm on TikTok and they're very, very sensitive. Can you add a link under this video to the laser in Amazon? It's on the website. So on the website, Code of Reality, and you have two options there. One is that you can just buy the one we make, or the other option is that you have all the list of all the links to Amazon, and you can just even copy that item and just order it from Alibaba, and it will even be cheaper. So, but everything is on codeofreality.com. I just put it on down there. Do I have a link for recommended laser? Yeah, so same thing. Just make sure that it's never above 5 milliwatts. Never above 5 milliwatts, no matter what it is. Because even if you're bouncing it off a wall, eventually you can actually do some cornea damage with anything above 5 milliwatts. You're good. You don't have to worry about it. But never above. For science. Yep. Space-time that also aligns with the comments. Yep. I'll email you. Yeah, awesome. Please do. Cloud. I meant the magnetic viewers supercell. Oh, interesting. I never think about it. How do characters look like? Interesting. I think I'm just losing my voice. Look a lot like in the movie, which is weird. Not helping the case, to be honest. Sorry, I need to start using the code names. Twitter doesn't usually care, and that's why I'm a lot. Yeah, no, YouTube I think doesn't care either. Maybe not. Maybe does. I don't think so. TikTok does, so I can't say it out loud. Okay, so let me take a few more questions from TikTok, and then, because I do have to film tomorrow, and I still have some editing to do today. Okay. You have to soften Wolfram by talking about his computational theory for the first hour. Oh no, I will definitely be able to get something interesting out of him. I think he would enjoy the conversation. Me and a few other people saw the same thing. Thank you, Bobo. Thank you for sharing. If you want to email me the account or just tell me about it, I'm always interested. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. And by the way, a few of the people that emailed me, especially in the last few days, whenever a video goes viral, it's like an influx, like a lot of people email at the same time. I will still respond to all of them. Sometimes it just takes me a little longer. So just be patient, but I will respond, I promise. What are your thoughts on the meaning of the code? Do you think that it's involved in the display of reality, or is there some base code of the universe, display code sort of thing? Again, the short answer is I don't really know, but I love the question, and I like when people think about it in specificities versus kind of generalities. So, meaning of the code, I think we will only going to start interacting with the meaning of the code in a much later portion of the evolution of this project. In the beginning, I think what we're going to be working is correlations. So, for example, if I produce a very powerful magnetic field, I can create what's called the Zeeman effect around the diode, and we can see some kind of a measurable change in either the behavior or the content of the code that everybody can agree on. Now you have another layer of confidence. First of all, that it's a real thing because it behaves like any physical object would. You do this thing, it happens every time, everybody agrees on it, right? But also, it will give you a way to map and triangulate what's going on, because we know quite a bit about electromagnetism, right, and magnetism. So we can start comparing. It's like, oh, when we turn on this magnet or on this laser, and maybe if we angle it and we see the code changing in this way or the other way, so we can say, oh, maybe this part of the code kind of responsible for something has to do with magnetism, or the interaction of magnetism and how it is arising from electromagnetism, which is essentially how we do everything in neuroscience, really. So we correlate what we see in the brain with what people report, or what the behavior that we see, or phenomena that we see that happens to people. And I think that's exactly how it's going to be. So that's the short answer. Do you do interviews on podcasts? Yeah, I go on interviews all the time. It just has to kind of be a good, a good fit, and it should be an interesting conversation. But yeah, I definitely do. What's up, Ken? Finally, we have a comment from X. Very excited. I've been watching you on YouTube as Nevering, and here also to try and get you some hits. Yes, man. Okay. I was like, oh, but thank you. Thank you so much. In the trailer, there are characters. Are those characters from memory, or the participants writing directly? Yeah, they're kind of representations of what it kind of looks like. Very close. everybody that saw the code agreed that it really looks like that. Have you seen anything else that has been somewhat consistent? Watch my video called The Console on YouTube. The Console. And I'm working on a second video on that where I'm gonna do, and I have it's like a computer that appeared for me now that I'm in the space every time. But it only, as far as I know, I only met 2 other people that I know for a fact that they saw something like that. This seems to be super rare. But after I built the laser, this computer appeared for me, and it's been appearing 100% of the time. Every time I smoke it, I don't have, I think, enough time right now to like get into it. But watch the video, and then when you show up tomorrow for the chat, if you come, we can talk about it more. And I have a 3D representation of the rudimentary way that it appears, and it appears 100% of the time, and it looks the same. So that will be one of the things. And I'm working on another video that will include a more advanced kind of like rendition of what the console actually looks like. The Twitter account is Golar Danny. I don't remember if there's a period in the middle. Try between Golar and Danny a period or not. I don't know if it will allow me. So it should be just Golar Danny, like this. Or it might be Golar dot Danny. I can't recall right now. Hold on. I should know my own Twitter account. This is how little I use it. But I will be using it a lot more. Yeah, it's one. Golar Danny. Just Golar Danny. Thank you. I do need more followers there, so. Yep. Thank you, Nevering. Same thing. How do I sign up for the retreat? Oh yeah, so we did a retreat last year and it was very successful. So we're thinking about doing another one this year. So it's not up yet, but I will definitely. So the way you would go about it is you would email me, and just put it in the description that I know it's specifically about the retreat. The second we have enough people showing interest, we'll set up a date and try and make it so people can so it works for everybody. What's different? Just email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and just say interested in the retreat, and we'll talk about it. He have to soften wolf. Oh, okay, we saw that. Jess, you're the best. How do I sign up for? Okay, we saw that. Have you discovered anything similar to the red laser experiment, or heard or something similar? No. And also from what I saw in the space is that this is truly kind of like, now I understand what it sounds like it's kind of like saying like, no, obviously kind of pulling attention towards myself, but I really think that this is just the first step. Like, it's not the actual real big thing. Like, it's big in terms of like, we've never had a way to kind of do this kind of thing before, but I really think, and this is why I put it out to the world, it's going to require all the brilliant minds in the entire earth to really understand and come together and build the thing, and we will understand what the true thing is. But I don't think this is actually the discovery. I think truly we will all collectively make the discovery together. Maybe it is the joint project that we all needed. Who knows? Thank you, David. I appreciate you. Okay, guys, I have to shoot tomorrow. Peace and love. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be here tomorrow again. Not every day I'll have the hour and a half, but I'll do my best to do at least an hour every day while I'm shooting. And then usually the lives are much longer. But thank you so much for joining. Truly, this is incredible that people are engaging, and such a good vibe always. Maul saying, reminds me of a Jewish Kabbalah they mentioned about the characters around. Yeah, there's a lot of elements in the Zohar that kind of talks about very similar things. See you guys tomorrow. Jess, all the regulars, Cal and Nico and James and Nevering. Thank you so much for everybody for the donations. And let's see, I think I can name most people because Mailkeeper, Lemuse, David, James, White German, Nevering, Ken was also Nevering, James, I think, right? The Project 51. If I haven't mentioned you, sorry. Love you. Thank you so much. Peace and love. See you tomorrow. Ciao. See you guys. Twix. Twix should be a platform. YouTube, Twitch, and X. Twix is X and Twitch together. So thank you for joining, and yeah, if you can guys like the live on respectful lives platforms. Yeah, my brain is gone. So good night. See everybody and see you tomorrow. Peace and